Hey everybody, back again, the Cryptos review here. Going over NVTV, the most insane CCT footage ever captured on security cam. This video is about 2 months old, 313,000 views. So, it seems like a pretty decent bit of video here. So we'll get into it. Uh, 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 Talking about seeing somebody in a bowler hat or fedora type hat just disappears. But with the preview, get to the feature. See, something like this, it would be nice if they read it. Oh man, I've seen this one so many times. Yeah, you're looking in the trees behind his car. Zooms in. Yeah, this is one of the worst ones. Grainy as hell. Yeah, there's the person walking in the background of behind the car. But as you can see, it's literally just a person. It's more than likely it was his neighbor, and he was just not paying attention to it because it's none of his business. He's focused on what's in his car. And the thing is I've highlighted this before with cameras, especially surveillance cameras. If it's too far away for the camera to pick it up clearly, the processors and all the computer information will try to make out what it is itself. And like I've got video daytime. I've got 4K video surveillance of my property, and people that are walking down the street that are like 7-8 houses down, they look like little blobs floating in the air until they get to a certain point where the camera then can pick up the legs, and then the legs will form in, and then as they get closer and closer and closer, it then finally figures out, oh, it's a person. See? Look at him. I mean, hell, even in this video, you can see that there is very short brush where look at the fence line up here. It's a fence. There's branches on the fence because there's a shrubbery that's in front of the fence where all the leaves have fallen off, and that's what's behind him next to his car. It's the same thing. it's vines, it's trees. So the camera's not picking up a, a lot of details. It's just mashing everything together and trying to figure it out on its own. So it's probably a neighbor walking over, picking something up, and then he's like, oh, it's definitely a ghost. You can still see whatever it is bent down. And another thing is people like, oh, a hand came out and tried to grab his leg right as he closed the door. The person bends down, you can still see their back, and then they disappear a little bit, but you can still see them. Closes the door, and you can see the flicker. But I want to highlight right here, whatever it was fell down and rolled over. It is not a person reaching out from underneath the car. It's none of that. It is more than likely a leaf, because you can see leaves all over the ground, all over the ground, all over the ground. They're all over the place. I mean, here's one, 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 here's one. They're all over the place. They're all over the yard. I mean, hell, you've got stuff on the ground here, under this tree, and right there's another leaf, and then there's some leaves over here. He slammed the door, which created wind flow, which moved a leaf, and that's it. Watch again. You can see there's stuff right here. There, it shifted over to here. It's here. It's here. And then it moves and shifts over. That's just air. And you can see, okay, let's see what they do with the zoom in. Okay, slowed down and closer look at it. Still not as zoomed in, but you can see right here, this is what moves. It gets sucked in and moved under. You can see the person there. You can see them bend down. And then the camera, oh, there they are still. You can see that little smudge there. That's them. Yep. It was here. It moved and flipped over. Now, even closer, watch between these little branches right here. Watch right between those branches. This spot right here. They bend over. You can still see it right here. It is a smudge right here. It's still moving. It's still moving. It's still moving right here. Even now, it's still moving. It is not paranormal. It is not paranormal. It's just hit this guy being completely oblivious to what's going on around him, not realizing that his neighbor is out picking up stuff in the yard. And, I mean, you can hear chickens and roosters all over the yard. So, let's go on to the next video here. Hooing noise. Heard a deep hooing noise. What it was? You talking about like an owl hoo? Hoo, hoo. Let's see what we got. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, people.
I'd like to share with you guys a strange experience I had last Saturday, February 24th, 2018.
Yeah.
This was at the Springville Sierra property.
Yeah, before we get into this, I mean, on a big screen, on my monitor, this is all, I mean, look, this is a cluster of pixels, probably about 20 pixels. This is grainy, it's cruddy, so we're already focusing on horrible video here, probably shot in like, you know, the 400s maybe. I mean, it's definitely not 4K or 1080.
That we went to on an expedition. It was about 11:53 at night, so fairly late, and we were playing cards, and a friend of mine went outside. I just want to go outside for a second. And I heard something, and I wasn't sure what it was because I was in the house at the table. But he said, hey, there's like a really, really big owl out here, like making this really deep hooing noise. And it sounds like it's like right off the deck. So I jumped right up, ran outside to hear it. And all I had my phone. I didn't have a flashlight or anything on me. We were playing cards. So I wasn't in Bigfoot mode. I think my GoPro was on the charger. So I just grabbed my phone.
Okay, so he is somebody that hunts the paranormal, but he says, "Oh, you know, I had my phone, but I didn't have a flashlight." I'm recording. That's video. It's easy.
And ran outside. The porch has pretty good lights. There's one on the side of the house where the cars are parked, and then there's a pretty good porch light out there. And I ran outside, and I just got this super eerie feeling. Something very strange was going on, and it was eerily quiet. You can hear some dogs barking in the background, which normally you don't hear them bark that late at night because it's so cold out. So here.
Temperature means nothing to dogs barking. Oh, they don't bark at night because it's cold out. What? They bark when something's around, when they hear things, when they smell things. There's nothing to do with temperature.
Here's the footage. A little bit of the ways into it, you hear my camera's kind of looking off to the left, and then I hear a big crunch. And I got to tell you, the audio doesn't do it justice. That crunch was about 10 feet from the porch. There's a big redwood tree right next to it, and it sounded like it was right behind that redwood tree, and it sounded big. And yeah, so I'll let you guys watch the recording. I do drop a couple F-bombs. We were pretty scared. We slept with all the porch lights on that night. So yeah, have a look, folks. Let me know if you spot anything. There's really not.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about when I tell you that videos are trying to figure out what is in the video. The computer, the process of the computer is trying to give the clearest image possible, but it doesn't know what the item is. It doesn't know where the item ends. So you get all this bleeding. You have a pixel, but the object is larger than a pixel, so it goes, okay, it's bigger than a pixel, and I can't make one pixel into half one color and half the other color, so I'm just going to make it a lighter color and carry it over. Oh, well, the next one is similar color, so I'm going to lighter, and then you get this. You get this funky blob.
Much other than you can hear
Look
the
at this.
crunch. So I tried my best with what I had at the
There
time.
it is, all this blob. You can clearly see that is a property. It's a building. You can tell what it is, but the camera is blending all of these things together. It's blending all of this together. You can see the outline all the way down of all this stuff, but it's blending it into square pixels, and that's where we get all this stuff of, oh, that's a ghost way over there. That's what that is. That's a ghost. It's a ghost. You see, it's a ghost. See, it's just a small blob, and it's floating. No, it's not. It's the camera can't tell what it is. mean, even with a flashlight, the stuff back here isn't close enough and lit enough for the camera to tell exactly what it is. So it blurs. But you do hear dogs barking and you hear a crunch. But the thing is he's recording in landscape like this, and he's facing one way, but I can only hear the crunch in this ear, and then it's slightly, just a little hint in this ear. So if he's holding it a specific way, and it cameras, if you're in landscape, you've got a microphone here and you've got a microphone here. It does pick it up in stereo on many phones. So if it's only picking it up on one ear as opposed to both ears hearing it, then it's telling me that it happened on the right-hand side, which would be over here, close to the door, where people are talking. So that tells me that it wasn't really out there, as more of it was near him to his right.
Yeah, so right after this, where the video ends, I ran inside and grabbed my rifle, which was right by the door. It has a Surefire flashlight mounted to it. It's like a 500 lumen, super bright flashlight. So I ran outside. I didn't have any video of it because I was more concerned of working with the rifle. Brian came with me. He was kind of behind me, and we went about 10 or 15 yards from the porch, just kind of where the porch light and the exterior lights would cover. We didn't go any farther than that because I'm like, Brian, I don't feel safer going any farther. And he's like, yeah, I second that. And as I was scanning down kind of the same direction that the sound came from, which is further down by a fence line, just for a split second, I caught an eye shine. And then it was as I was sweeping and I came back, I couldn't see it. And eye shine was decently off the ground. But then again, you're pointing downhill. So maybe could have been a coyote or a bear, but it was very suspicious. The loud hooting owl noise and then silence, dogs barking into.
Okay, so he says that the sound came from behind the tree, and now it's out 15 yards down the hill, and it's like, okay, now you've changed your story, and it's only been, a minute, and that bobbing head weave, eye shine, and a hooing noise, it's more than likely an owl. And it's more than likely that if it's on ground, and you heard crunching, if it was where you said it was, and it crunched where you said it crunched, then it was probably, and more than likely, an owl that had caught something such as a rodent or another varmint-sized creature on the ground and is killing it and eating it. And that small critter, that would have been something that would have made the dogs bark. There are explanations for a lot of things. You can't just go, hey, I saw, something hairy eating an ice cream cone, but I was, 2 miles away from it, looking at it through one of those walking stick 2-time magnification, lenses, so it had to be Bigfoot. It's not how this works, people. You got to actually look into it. You have to do it. And I mean, even now, look at the pixelation of this. This is ridiculous. It's insane.
Background. Then I heard that big crunch by the porch, and I couldn't see it with the porch light. And by the time I got handed a flashlight, I couldn't make out anything. It was a decent flashlight that Garrett handed me, but it wasn't super bright, so it didn't have that good a throw. So I don't know what it was. By the time I ran inside and ran
Gotta
back
love
down with my
shaky
rifle and
cam.
the light, something was down by the fence line, which was probably 75 yards away. And the next morning, I didn't get any footage of it. You could see where something was trampling all through that brush. And from the angle of it, you could hide yourself behind the redwood tree that was by the porch. Like you could approach from there and you were mostly.
Okay, so he went. He said it was behind the tree. Then he said they wandered down 30 yards and looked downhill another 10 to 15 yards, and then where they were, it's another 75 yards. So what we're talking is he was looking at eye shine and hearing something 150 yards away, but he heard it clear as day behind the tree. Uh, this is why Bigfoot hunters and the actual experts don't rely on eyewitness statements as much as they do, uh, video evidence. Because video evidence, you can actually, make judgments. You can go, okay, I can see this item at this point, and then the thing is over here at this item here. So what we're going to do is we're going to send somebody of a known height to that point, and then at that point we will be able to judge how big the item is or whatever. You see this guy, he's like, oh, it's off the ground, it's off the ground, pretty far up off the ground, but we're looking downhill at it. And then we went there and it's 75 yards, it's 30 yards, it's 100 yards, it's 50 yards, but it's really tall. And it's like, okay, you went there, you saw something at a specific height, and then when you went there, the height was much shorter than you anticipated or estimated because you aren't acknowledging the distance factors. You have no point of reference of height, so you can't tell. You have no real idea what the distance is. You can't determine it because you are bad at determining distances. I mean, it's stressful.
Covered by the redwood tree, and some of the grass was trampled down. And we followed it down to the fence line. And the fence is always in good shape, but this last year it's got a bunch of holes in it to where you could either step over it or crawl under it. I found a little bit of hair on the fence because it's a barbed wire, but then we quickly determined that it was a real light, long blonde hair. And then there are horses that go there, and one of them's like a real light blonde with a long tail. So I didn't bother because it looked a lot like horsehair to me. But you could totally see where something could either just belly crawl right through, even somebody really big could just get under it because there's a big hole. Or if you're really tall, that's, about 3.5 feet high, you could just step over it too. So something came up and approached us that night. If it was, if Pat didn't hear the big owl sound, the big whoo whoo, like the proverbial 800-pound owl, I probably just would have assumed it was a coyote. We had a fire going. We were barbecuing that night. We were listening to music. This property goes, periods of time with nobody up there. So I don't know. We probably were the big curiosity in the woods if there was a Bigfoot, which I'm kind of leaning.
It's not Bigfoot. It's not Bigfoot. It's not. No, no. Literally every single thing that you talked about is leaning towards big ass owl. Big ass owl picked up like a rabbit or something, or a vole, some kind of critter. The horses are wandering around, and they're like, oh, you know what? There's a horse out. There's horses out there, but the dogs don't bark because it's cold out. Dogs don't care what fucking temperature it is. They'll bark. It was not Bigfoot. It's simply explainable. You're just trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, and you suck. You absolutely suck at determining distance and height.
Maybe it was. I could be wrong. I don't have any definitive proof. But we were very freaked out. And I've seen all sorts of critters off that porch before and never been freaked out. It was just a strange circumstance. And that most of the guys that went up there with me are kind of like, yeah, Matt's crazy, his Bigfoot thing, maybe there's something out there. But I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to sleep with all the lights on. They're like, yeah, okay, that sounds good to me. I'm like, I think we're going to stay on the porch. And they're like, yeah, okay, we're fine with that. So even the big tough guys were a little bit freaked out by it, and so was I. So yeah, that was pretty much the story. I got a lot more footage and things to go over from the trip. Nothing this exciting. We had a great time. It was just cold. It was in the 20s and teens at night. Anyway, folks, more to come. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, easily debunked, easily explained. I mean, it. You can't just go. Well, I filmed this blob, and it's clearly Bigfoot. I filmed this thing moving in the wind, and it's definitely a ghost. Like Ghost Theory, with their it's howling wind out, but that has nothing to do with how the door popped open when there was a big gust of wind in our faces. But it couldn't have been the wind, because wind can't go down steps. Yeah. I mean, I call them out. I will call out fakes. I will call out frauds. I will call out anybody who just puts out information trying to get a rise out of others. I mean, yeah, you did some good content. You tried to put it out there. I mean, the two people that put out these videos, they really need to sit back and actually, do some studying on what this stuff is. You can't call yourself a Bigfoot hunter if you're saying that hooting sounds and hearing crunching from 150 yards sounds like it's coming from behind the tree that's right in front of you. You can't call yourself a Bigfoot hunter if you're thinking that. You are easily swayed by the simplest things. So that's it for today. I mean, good Lord, people, start thinking. Start thinking with your head. Just, if you can't honestly say that it is a ghost, don't say it's a ghost. If you can't honestly say that it's Bigfoot, don't say it's Bigfoot. Plain and simple. See you guys later.